What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Seagoner Speed 252, and I want to thank you all for pushing that play button. Today's video is about the dyno numbers of the C8 Mid Engine Corvette, and thanks to MotorTrend, we finally officially have those numbers. Let's get into it.
I'm Miguel Cortina, Managing Editor of MotorTrend en Español.
And I'm Kim Reynolds, Testing Director of MotorTrend.
So today we're going to talk about the surprising results that we got from taking the Corvette to the dyno. So we're wrapping up Car of the Year and we have the Mid-Engine Corvette one more day. We decided to take it to the real MPG test, but turns out that they don't have the right equipment for it. So our plan B is to go to the dyno.
The first question was what gear ratio to use.
Yeah, we called Chris Walton. Chris's best guess was to do it in 5th gear. We did 4 runs in 5th gear, and then runs 5 and 6 were done in 6th gear. I was there with Angus Mackenzie, who's our international bureau chief, and we see ridiculous numbers. In terms of torque, it went from 515 at the wheels, which means it's about 606 pound-feet of torque at the crank. About 558 horsepower, which means after drivetrain losses, it's 650 horsepower. So I think the takeaway here is that the Corvette is producing about 150 more horsepower than what GM is telling us. We couldn't just sit on this and scratch our heads and say this is a ringer. So we called Chevy engineers to find out what was going on.
And they actually found that this engine was well within tolerance, so there was nothing out of sorts with this thing. It wasn't super tuned. It was a very ordinary Corvette engine. So after the conversation with General Motors, what we finally discovered is the difference between the SAE certified measurements that they're reporting and what we saw is the methodology.
The engine was certified by the Society of Automotive Engineers, the SAE. And so the SAE acts like as a third party and follows these super strict rules.
A normal dyno pull, as you witnessed, you put the car on rollers and you tie it down and you run it. The SAE certified method, the car doesn't just accelerate quickly through its RPM range, but it goes through steps where it runs at certain RPM levels all the way up to redline. So that's much more stressful on the engine. It's generating a lot more heat. So you're going to end up with lower numbers.
And so these 495 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque are given to Chevy, and so Chevy has to stick with those numbers. It's not Chevy coming out and saying, our car is making this. It's actually the Society of Automotive Engineers saying, this is how much your engine makes.
Right. So which of these numbers is true? The 495 that Chevrolet is claiming or the 650 that we saw?
I'm leaning more towards the 650 that we saw, but also to make sure that the car that we got wasn't a ringer. We're going to be following up with this story in the future. So once Corvette owners get their cars, we're going to ask them to come into the same dyno. We'll pay for the dyno runs, and we'll see if their car is making the same amount of horsepower and torque numbers that our Corvette was making.
Right. So it's 650 with a footnote.
Yes, with an asterisk.
Right.
I mean, regardless if your Corvette has 495 horsepower or 650, you're still getting a really good car that drives amazing.
Yeah, a car that does 2.8 seconds to 60 miles per hour, that's the number that really matters.
What's going on, everyone? That is so crazy that the C8 Mid Engine Corvette is actually making that much horsepower. I would never have guessed that. I would never have thought that. I would assume that GM numbers was pretty much accurate or dead on spot since they are the creators of this car. But at the same time, they do have to make this car conservative for their lawyers and everyday use for most people that's planning on driving this vehicle. With that being said, I want to get into some of the stuff that MotorTrend actually said about this car during their dyno test. And thanks to MotorTrend for actually bringing this information to us and giving us something else to talk about, something to be excited for, and for many years to come. Because imagine that this car is putting out 650 horsepower, just the base model Stingray C8 Mid Engine Corvette, and what GM has in store for the Z06 version, the Zoa version, and the Hybrid version. Now, with that being said, I am not shocked that General Motors at the night of the unveiling actually said that this car is a little faster than the Z06. There's a lot of Corvette C7 Z06 owners out there who still don't believe that this car is actually faster than the Z06. Now, 0 to 60 time, yes, this car is faster than the current C7 Z06. And it actually says faster than C701 as well, with 755 horsepower. But if you put these two cars alongside each other and race them on a long stretch, both the C706 and the C701 will catch the Mid Engine Corvette pretty quickly. But that's to be expected, especially knowing that this C8 Mid Engine Corvette is still only the base model version of this car. I think GM has a lot in store for the C8 Mid Engine Corvette. A lot of you guys on the Mid Engine Corvette forum are saying you're going to hold out until the Z06 version comes out of the C8 Mid Engine Corvette, but why not get the base model? Why not enjoy something that's already really fast, good for the money, and looks freaking awesome? Ladies and gentlemen, you only get one life. Why wait and waste your time on waiting on the C8 Mid Engine Corvette Z06 where you can actually get into the base model and actually feel a Mid Engine sports car? Because I don't know how much of these dealerships in the area are going to let people test drive this car before they buy it. I can tell you one thing, I have personally driven a 911 Turbo, also an Acura NSX, and as this car comes close to any of those cars whatsoever, you're going to enjoy driving this Mid Engine sports car by Chevrolet. I mean, especially you get a whole lot of car for the money. Where else can you get a Mid Engine car for 60 grand? And I know a lot of people are like, oh, the 0 to 60 time is really important, but in the scheme of things, it's not really that important. All you care about, or should care about, is getting into a beautiful car and being able to drive this thing around the world. Before I get into one good piece about this Mid Engine Corvette MotorTrend article, I would like you guys to definitely subscribe to this YouTube channel and become part of the community and part of the family. And I love and appreciate each and every one of you, especially you guys from the Mid Engine Corvette forum. With that being said, MotorTrend says we in shock. A quick math check reveals that the estimated 656 horsepower, 606 foot-pounds of torque at the crank, if we assume a 15% drivetrain loss, was way over 485 horsepower and 407 foot-pounds of torque, which Chevrolet claims this car is putting down once they unveil this car. That 15% represents the power consumed by everything between the engine crankshaft and the drive wheels, including the inertia of all the spinning parts, power to run a hydraulic pump, and an automatic twin-clutch transmission, the drag that occurs when the gears spin through lubricating oil, friction between the gears, teeth, etc. It's an educated guesstimate frequency used across the industry for modern light-duty automatic transmission manuals and experiencing slightly smaller loses, older or heavier duty automatics slightly larger than ones. With that being said, I would like to thank MotorTrend for the information they have provided to us and I'm able to share with you guys today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then what are you waiting for? Definitely smash the subscribe button, and all my contact information is down in the description below and at the end of this video as well. And I look forward to seeing you all in another episode of C8 Speed 252.